Sturgeon, and Mr. Mahendra Singhi, who is the CEO of Dalmia Cement in India. If you would join me here on stage, it will be really interesting to hear what you have to say. Come in the middle. Please take a seat. There is a word that has come in this COP-24 more than anywhere else. It's the word urgency, thanks to the last IPCC report. It clearly shows that 2 degrees is not half a degree more than 1.5. It is 10 times worse. Like the decibels, you know, 1 decibel more is 10 times louder. So what are the long-term strategies that would be relevant for governments, for cities, for regions like Scotland?
Well, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to discuss these important issues today. The IPCC report is a call to action to governments, to private sector companies, to individuals across the world. Climate change is accelerating, and we must accelerate the pace and scale of the actions we are taking to combat it. So the first strategy that we all must adopt is to be ambitious in the goals that we set to tackle climate change. Scotland, my country, is seeking to lead by example in what we are doing. We've already almost halved our emissions based on 1990 levels, but we are in the process of legislating to increase our ambitions to keep pace with the Paris commitments. We aim to be a carbon neutral country by 2050. We aim to be net zero of all greenhouse gas emissions as soon as we possibly can achieve that. And we will achieve that by taking action across a range of sectors. We have already substantially decarbonised our electricity supply. We aim to meet at least half of all of our energy needs from renewable sources by 2030. We have set ambitious targets around electric vehicles, and we want to be a country that is reaping the economic benefits of being an early adopter and being in the lead on tackling climate change. And these are not aspirations. We set ourselves binding statutory targets that we are held to account on an annual basis. And developed countries like mine have a moral obligation to lead by example. But if we do that, then we also stand to have real significant economic benefits as well. And that leadership is very important.
It's not only important for the CO2 emissions in the world, it's important because you show that it's possible, that a government can be bold. Now we're going to see how it's possible for the industry, because we need cement. Cement is one of the products that is the most manufactured in the world. So we need a bold transition, but the transition has to be just. How do you combine these two extremes, Mr. Singhi?
Sure. So, happy green morning, everybody. Honorable COP President, dignitaries on the dais, Madam Minister, and most important is Mr. Piccard, the great motivator. So, you know, today, this global warming is definitely a challenge and a threat, which needs urgent actions. But at the same time, it can also be converted into opportunities. Now, important is how business can understand this challenge and this opportunity. Normally, we do take realistic decisions, but now, in our view, climate change needs unrealistic decisions, unrealistic speed, so that we can be assured of what we would be doing, what sort of future we would be seeing on account of our all actions. I would like to share the story of our organization, Dalmia Bharat, India. Based on our vision and experience, we created a philosophy which says, clean and green is profitable and sustainable. Important for business was to also create profit which could also serve the society and at the same time could also support sustainable activities. We then created a target of how to become lowest carbon footprint cement company in the world. We being one of the small company in India, fourth largest of course in India, but on global standard we are a smaller one. But at the same time, we had the ambition that we can serve the society, we can serve the globe. With these 3-4 years of a transition journey, what we found is, one, we could become lowest carbon footprint cement company in the world. We could become most profitable cement company in India. We could create pride in all our employees, which could lead to, one, retention of the people, higher happiness, and then we could attract the best talent in the world. Similarly, this also resulted in a great circular economy which could take care of waste products of various other sectors which could help our company to bring down emissions and conserve mineral resources. Let me share with you that this is what has made us now the #1 cement company in the world, rated by CDP in their global cement report on account of low carbon economy transition. This is a fantastic example of how sustainable practices can bring in every good thing to you. And now, since last few months, we have been thinking, what next? What next? And the next came was the dream that we should try to become carbon negative. Though cement sector is known as one of the most polluting cement sector, but at the same time, the global practices which is being now adopted by various cement companies in the world is making it untrue. Now we have thought of carbon negative based on various levers which we have, and one of the major one is how we can replace fossil fuel with biomass, how we can use renewable energy 100%, and lastly, and one of the major which can support not only cement sector but all our industry is like how we can reabsorb CO2, how carbon dioxide can be captured and it can be utilized. We are fully confident that today it may be it may not be cost-effective technology, it may be expensive technology, but when we have to tackle the lives of future of the humanity, then we have to also work on even high-cost technology. So we are quite confident that with the adoption of CCU, with the adoption of biomass for fossil fuel, we should be carbon negative by 2040, and when we'll be using by 2030, 100% renewable energy. By 2025, we would be doubling the energy output. And this is what has also, ladies and gentlemen, has shown us that once we start imagining, we can achieve it. And today, I can share with this audience is that we have already reduced 40% CO2 in comparison to global cement world. So now, we are quite confident that we can now motivate ourselves also, we can motivate others also. Yes, and we would now see that our journey of creating pride would also bring in partners together. Like today morning, Madam Nicola, she has said that she can be partner for supporting us for CC technologies. So what we are now of a philosophy is that whatever you imagine, you can achieve. So important is, go on imagining without fearing that it may come true or not. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Singhi. And it was astounding when we were preparing this panel, when I was congratulating you for your effort to reduce CO2 emissions in the cement industry. You said not reduce, to have 0 emissions.
Yes.
So we see how important it is to have no losers
Sure.
into this transition. We need to have only winners. It means that we have to prove that the transition can be just and can create jobs. Because we always say the energy transition, fighting climate change, it will create millions of jobs. So at the government level, at the industrial level, how do we increase the number of jobs? Because if we can prove it, everybody will follow us.
Well, the first thing we should aspire to do is be a leader. There is always an economic advantage for countries that become early adopters and early innovators, the first mover advantage. My country already has a low carbon and renewable economy that is significant. My country has a population of 5 million people. There are already 50,000 jobs in that sector. It has a turnover of £11 billion, so it is significant and growing. By being a leader in, for example, wind energy and tidal energy, we've created jobs and research opportunities and economic opportunities. As a country that has, for the last 4 decades and more, produced oil and gas, we're also demonstrating how we can transfer the knowledge and the skills and the employment opportunities from that sector into renewable energy. One of the things I'll be speaking about here later on today is the decision we have taken to establish a Just Transition Commission, where we will be working closely with civil society, trade unions, the NGO community and private companies to demonstrate that there is nothing to fear and everything to gain from the transition to a low-carbon economy, that we can create new jobs that replace jobs in the older industries, and that those jobs can often be higher skilled, better paid, so we can benefit by doing the right thing for our own country and for the planet. And again, I think countries that are prepared to be bold and to demonstrate that not only reap real benefits for their own economies, but we show that leadership that encourages and motivates others to do the right thing. Change on a scale that we are encountering around climate change and the transition to low-carbon economies can be unsettling for populations. It can be a bit frightening for populations, but it has to be done. And therefore, the more we work together, the more we lead by example and show the benefits of that, the more we are able to take our populations with us. So it's the twin track of moral obligation and economic benefit that I think can see us make great leap forwards.
Thank you very much. Mr. Singhi, on
Yes.
this side of the industry, the same question.
More particularly, when I talk of my company, I would like to say that we have philosophy of be happy and make others happy. That is one. And secondly, create pride in all stakeholders through sustainability, values, innovation, and customer-centric. So our concern for employees, our concern for community is embedded in our vision, and that is helping us to first understand, by whatever I do in low-carbon economy transition, how I would be impacting my people, my society. And the good part in our country is that our country has already decided that first, let us generate renewable energy, let us adopt various innovative practices on sustainability, and then definitely slowly, maybe fossil fuel industry may go away. Important is that how you take actions in advance so that all stakeholders, all actors get satisfaction, get confidence. Like what we did in our industry is that when we started working for solar power plants, we trained, we reskilled our thermal power plant executives and employees, and then now they are operating solar power plant. Similarly, when we were using fossil fuel, we trained them how they can use alternate fuel. So important is that if you have the pains, you have the concern, you have the empathy about our people, then definitely it will be always just transition. And without just transition, one should not work on low carbon economy, because when we talk of global warming, we are trying to take care of the future, of future humanity. But what about today's humanity? So important for all of us is to tackle the situation, to give the confidence that yes, they would be reskilled the way the carbon tax funds or other funds are there, that would be used for the society, for the community.
We see that it's possible with bold decisions, because solutions exist at the government level, at the industry level. But what about communities who will be affected by the low carbon transition? Communities who don't have these resources. What can we tell them to motivate them to join this type of efforts, government level and industry level?
Well, I think the first thing we have to be is honest with communities in all parts of the world, communities of all shapes and sizes, that this is not optional. We all must make this transition for the future, not just of the generations to come, but for those of us living today. This is about the quality of the air that we breathe. It's about the quality of the environment that we leave for our children and grandchildren. So it is not optional. But in terms of motivating, the first thing that developed countries must do is lead by example and show what is possible, and also show that this can be a win-win situation. And to be prepared to collaborate. None of us can do this on our own. We are proud to be here as a sub-state government, collaborating and cooperating with others. We will announce later today a major partnership with your foundation to show that through innovation we can create real opportunities for companies of all sizes to be profitable and to succeed. So we must come together in a global commitment to action, knowing that we all have something to gain out of this. And exactly. If we do that, then I think that becomes motivational. One of the big assets that certainly countries like mine have is that governments now increasingly find ourselves under pressure from our populations. There is a sense in which the people of many countries are running ahead of their governments, and that's good because it puts a pressure on governments to accelerate their progress. And so those of us who are already or consider ourselves to be at the leading edge can perform the same function for others that need a bit more motivation and encouragement.
What many business communities have understood is that if they can lead by example, if they can create their strategies with future in mind, then definitely that reassures the community, that reassures the employees. What we have seen is that when we started working with our society, and they could understand that if we are transitioning to low carbon economy, which is also creating profits, which is also creating funds, and which is also getting used for the community, then they support, and then they feel that yes, it is in their interest to go for low carbon economy transition. Important would be how you can project that what's going to happen. So like I came across one new climate survey in which it has said that by 2030, about 65 million new jobs would be created. Now, once such surveys are done, locally also, nationally also, and globally also, then definitely that one supports the other community and employees that I may be able to get some job, I may be able to get reskilled. Similarly, one has to identify and have, as Madam has said, that we'll have to have honest interactions, honest conversation, honest communication, that we are for it. It's not that we are looking for only 20 years, 30 years after, but today we are for it. And lastly, I would like to quote a very famous Polish scientist, Marie Curie, somebody who summarized solution to this challenge very appropriately in one of our quote: "You cannot hope to build a better world without improving the individuals. To that end, each of us must work for his own improvement and at the same time share a general responsibility for all humanity, our particular duty being to aid those to whom we think we can be most useful." So for us, community, for us, employees are the most important, and I'm really happy that even this Poland government is fully taking care of them.
Thank you very much. I think this panel is only the first moment of a long-lasting relation together, because as you know, the Solar Impulse Foundation has the goal to identify 1,000 solutions that are financially profitable to protect the environment. So we'll have the one from India, we'll have the one from Scotland.
At least one.
Also the spirit you have. Thank you very much for this very inspiring moment that we could spend together.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely. And now, ladies and gentlemen,